What's up, everybody? It's Rob Gill from Epic, and I'm here with my partner, the mighty Ed Gartner is in the house.
How's it going?
And boy, do we want to tell you folks a good story. And the story about what we perceive to be success, partnerships, alliances, and full alignment that has led to, hey, we're on set right now with a production team for YouTube where we're doing 63 videos in 3 days so we could bring content to you folks every single day. I think the first time I actually met you, Ed, to my knowledge, probably goes back to Mike Vesuvio's summer parties.
Yep.
And maybe 2014 or 15.
That sounds about right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And, in that space, Mike Vesuvio is a guy that we both work with. And major shout out to you, Mike. Thank you for the connections. The thing that stood out to me was what a beautiful family you had. Beautiful wife, Kirsten, and 2 beautiful kids. And, from that space in the world of traditional life insurance agents, I personally never fit in. So so when I was at those parties, it was like, hey, how you doing? And then I always seem to remember my wife talking to Eddie's wife a lot. There was always a connection there.
Yeah.
So I think in my mind, I always had a good feel. Not that I didn't have a good feeling towards other people, because I'm like kind of like, it has to feel like comfortable. But I think I always had a good feeling about Ed Gartner.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I was right when I look at it years later. So everybody trust your instincts, especially if you're right from the neck up. Do a checkup for the neck up. So anyway, last year, 2019, I was on a trip, and this was about 11 months into my relationship.
I think you're even back further, no? No, maybe you are.
Actually, no, December 2018, we're at a Christmas party, and I ran into Ed. And at that point, I was about 8 months into a relationship with one of my partners, Sean Callaghy, who's the founder of Unblinded. Sean is an attorney that is nationally known in what he does, but he's also a peak performance coach and has created a model called integrity-based human influence, which has later served us very well.
Yes.
At that point, I was just running around because he told me to do videos, so I would take my camera and just do videos. So all of a sudden, I'm at a Christmas party, and I run into Eddie, and we do a video.
Yep.
And a lot of people said no. Those same people can't wait to do videos now, though. But Eddie said yes, and to this day, we don't even remember what we talked about.
Right. No idea.
Yeah.
You can find it, though. It's out there on Facebook somewhere.
Yeah. I actually want to find it. So anyway, February 2019, I'm on a trip, and I'm there with Mike Vesuvio, and I told him that Sean, who's now my partner, is going to have a 3-day beta test on his integrity-based human influence model.
Yep.
And he had suggested that I call you, and that was a very comfortable thing for me because I actually like that a lot. And I called Ed, and everything was yes. And do you remember that call, like your perspective of it?
I do. I had gotten the good fortune because Rob had brought Sean actually to Mike's agency to speak.
Oh, you were seeing him at that point?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So I had got to see Sean speak once. And I understood that Sean was like, came from that Tony Robbins world, right?
Yep.
And coming from that world, I've been a follower of Tony Robbins, and I had never gotten to go to one of his events to that point. So Rob had said, hey, I want you to come in. I want you to see this, be a part of this immersion training. It's going to be like nothing you've ever seen, and it's going to be life-changing. Yep. You hear that stuff, and then you think, well, could that really be, right? But it was.
Yeah, and I think because I had credibility in the space of the agency that we worked at together from a production standpoint, I believe that, for anyone out there that's looking for change, I think Eddie was at that point in life where he was looking for some changes. And for some reason, it just resonated, timing worked out. I never would have known a year and a half later he's as good and as valuable as he is. And by the way, he brings tremendous value to what we're doing here at Epic, a game changer alert. But I think that when I first said it to Ed, I was like, hey, listen, every other sales training program in the insurance industry just doesn't work. It's meant to fail. 90% of agents just don't make it. And that's designed that way because it's training based on 80 years. It's external. And I think Sean, who you guys will know at some point sooner than later, if you don't know him already, he had a model that was based from the inside out. And it's hard to tell people about that except if you go to the 3-day immersion.
Yeah.
So Ed, you said yes.
I did.
You went to the immersion day one. Before we get into the real stuff that kind of accelerated,
Yeah.
how did you feel there? Like, what was going on in your mind?
So I was excited. When you sign up for something, you can go in with an open mind or you can just be there as a hostage, right? And this was something where I wrote a check. I went to go to this event and I was going all out, right? Because that's the way I'm going to play if I'm going to be involved in something. And I knew that by doing this, it was going to lead to something better, right?
And on a parallel track, as I shot a video with Eddie in December, in that same month, I happened to be at a Tony Robbins event with Sean, who introduced me to the mighty Kris Krohn, right? And I remember sitting next to Kris. Tony was speaking and he was sharing some great information at Date with Destiny down in Florida. And Kris was taking notes like this. And Tony's seats are on top of each other, so you could see me and Kris, and but all he did was take furious notes. And I remember at that point, Sean was telling me that, hey, let's have breakfast with Kris tomorrow. I'm forming what Sean called at that point, and we now know it as an ecosystem merger, not an alliance partnership, but a true merger where you do business together in a frictionless manner. And that's really been part of our acceleration. So day 2 at Sean's 3-day immersion, this is 4 months after I met Kris, and This is when Sean started speaking. And I knew Kris, and my phone had said Kris Krohn YouTube. That's what I knew him as, because he had over 300,000 subscribers, which was insane to us. Couldn't even comprehend it. Day 2, Sean is talking in his formula about the ecosystem mergers and what he's been doing. And tell him what happened.
So what Sean was talking about was what sounded to me like he mentioned Kris Krohn's name 100 times in that day. It might have only been a couple times, but he just kept saying, you want to model successful people because success leaves clues.
Yes.
And one of the things he was saying is in the space of YouTube, if he wanted to do YouTube, he would model Kris Krohn. And the reason he would model Kris Krohn is look at what he's doing, X, Y, and Z. And for me...
It's no different than their production crew right here, right?
Yeah, right. But for me, I'm saying, who the heck is Kris Krohn? I've never heard of him.
Now, mind you, I did look at videos and I still didn't find what he's about to tell you.
So I started watching Kris's videos. And
at Sean's event.
Yeah, at Sean's event. And so one of the things that you'll find in the financial space is there's a lot of opinions. And unfortunately, to the detriment of a lot of clients, the opinions are so bad, they're disregarding products in general, right? Whole products that are there for planning for clients are eliminated just because of somebody's opinion or a nursery rhyme or some sort of, tragedy like that.
Yep. And that's why it's important to measure and monitor every opinion that you follow. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Right. So when I was looking through Kris's videos, one was the top 10 things you need to own at a certain age. And I got to number 3, and he mentioned whole life insurance. And I was like, wait, what? Because in our space, nobody talks about that. And then the second one, number 4 was term insurance, and he talked about buying a home, and he talked about all these things that really started to resonate with me. And I said, Rob, check this out.
So here is where, when the book is written, which already is being written, what we like to call a paradigm shift, and that first explosive step based on Eddie committing to a 3-day immersion with Sean, being open-minded, not in a default no, meaning don't just say no because it feels okay. He pointed out to me that Kris Krohn does videos on life insurance, and because I come from a scarce mindset, unless I train myself to be abundant, my first reaction after I saw this phenomenal video was, he's already a partner with somebody. I felt like, wow, why didn't I do something in December when I met him? Because after watching the video, it was a perfect fit for what we do here at Epic. And I need to tell what happened next. I'm
not going to tell you just yet what happened. We did another video on this. Check it out right here.
If you want to connect with us and learn more about this journey and see how we went from 8 to 150 new sales meetings a month, click the link below and somebody on the team will reach out to you and share our success process.